What's up? I'm the Kind Assassin. How are y'all doing? Today I'm going to be talking about Ahsoka's episode 4 and 5, Fallen Jedi and Shadow Warrior. Now, to be honest, it took me a while to watch these two episodes. I didn't watch them when they were first released. The reason is I was really losing interest in the show because I'm so lost. And the whole premise of this series was to determine whether I'd be able to enjoy the show going in blind. And already in episode 3, right after watching 3 episodes, I came to the conclusion that I cannot enjoy the show going in blind because there are so many parts of that history that I'm missing that I just don't catch, a lot of references that I just don't know. And so it just really made it hard to follow along and be invested. And the show is a little slow, so that also played a part in me losing interest. I guess lesson learned for me, I made that mistake of not doing a recap for myself about the previous shows or the previous stories, I should say, of Clone Wars and Rebels. But also I'm a little sad that a normal Star Wars fan like me that isn't so deep into all the storylines isn't able to enjoy this. Now, granted, there are parts that I like. Obviously, I'm a fan of the universe, so it is enjoyable at some parts when there's fighting scenes or just when they're, flying through space and, all of those things that I really enjoyed when I was a kid. Like, I'm a kid at heart still, and all of that still excites me. But all in all, it's just really hard to be invested and be engaged and really care about what's happening because I don't know the history. But I will say that these last 2 episodes, 4 and 5, really did bring back my interest because the show moved forward, the story moved forward. There's actually some stakes now. So things happened in these episodes that made me interested again. So basically, they are now on their way to try to find Ezra and Thrawn. Right, so the bad guys had that hyperspace thing they built and they found the coordinates and they flew over there. And then Ahsoka and the robot guy hitched a ride with the whales and they're on their way over there. Also Sabine's with the bad guys. I think she's kind of playing them because she knows that's probably the only way she can rescue Ezra. So she's, along for the ride. So finally, they're on their way to the next big moment of the story, which is the grand reveal of Thrawn, which I'm really excited about. I'm not so much excited about Ezra, honestly, because I like to root for the bad guys in most things. So I'm really excited to meet Thrawn. Long story short, going in blind, I did a disservice to myself. But these last 2 episodes brought my interest back because now we're finally getting somewhere. And I'll just end by sharing a few highlights that I thought were enjoyable or some things that I was really lost about. There was this moment where Sabine used part of her suit to grab a bad guy, and it reminded me of Eivor. I'm playing Valhalla right now, so it just made me chuckle a little bit to see that move in this show. I really did think there was some beautiful visuals in both episodes. The Red Forest. The map was really beautiful. Some of the fighting scenes between Ahsoka and Baylan and Ahsoka and Anakin. Just really beautiful visuals that were enjoyable. One part where I was not lost is I recognized Carson Teva, one of the pilots, and I recognized him from Mandalorian. So finally something that I was like, oh, I know something about the show and the story. I was really disappointed with, I don't know his name, but he was a bad guy that was kind of with the blonde girl fighting along her side. And he looked like he was a cool, fighter. Maybe he was part of that really elite team of Jedi hunters. I don't know what they're called, but he ended up dying. So I was like, oh, bummer. I kind of was interested in seeing more of him. I was really intrigued by Balin's character from the very beginning, but it still feels like, even though he had a scene with Ahsoka and they were fighting and they had a dialogue, I still don't know like what's going on with him. He's very skeptical of witchcraft and like the power of Morgan. He makes all these references to how he's like war battled, like beleaguered, soldier, who's kind of like cynical and just like tired of it all. And he was talking about, he wants to bring about this new world era. Like he wants to bring Thrawn back and destroy what's currently existing to bring something greater. But I still don't feel like I understand truly what his motivations are and what happened in his past and like what brought him to be on the bad side. Like, is he Sith, or how did he go from, was he a Jedi and he became bad? Like, I want to know more about that, but it just hasn't come forward. So hopefully in the next episodes it will. I was actually really excited to see Anakin, even though his reveal at the end of episode 4, I was like, that does not look like Anakin. And Steve was like, that's Anakin. I'm just like, I'm sorry, dude, but it does not look like him to me. So what do you guys think? Do you think they did a good job or not? Because I don't think they did a good job. In episode 5, I guess I kind of saw a little bit more, but that first reveal, I was like, no, that does not look like Anakin. But anyway, I was happy to see him. I'm a big, like my favorite character is Darth Vader, and, I liked Anakin as well. But I was excited to see him back, and I didn't obviously ever see Anakin with Ahsoka, like back in the day. And so it was cool to see them together because I did know that he was her master and she was his Padawan. But there was a lot of times where they, in their dialogue, like in the flashback scenes during the war times, like, I don't know what was going on. I was lost. And also when she said that all this is my fault.
It was my fault. They were following my orders. I got them killed.
Like, why is it her fault? And Balin told Ahsoka, like, you abandoned him, you abandoned Anakin. And I'm just like, what happened? Very lost. So although I did enjoy his scenes, Anakin's, I was also lost. And I'm like, what? But, my fault. I didn't do my research. There was a cool, like, visual metaphor towards the end of Ahsoka and Anakin, like, fighting each other when she took his red lightsaber and, like, the reflection of the red went into her eyes. And it's like, is she going to go down that path that Anakin went down? Because there was a scene where they were talking about how, because Anakin trained Ahsoka, she's everything he is. So does that mean she also has the dark side in her? But in that scene, she like threw down the weapon and decided to choose life, right? So the opposite of what Anakin did. And that's when she resurfaced and, they found her in the ocean. So I was really excited to see Anakin back and him going from master when he first met Ahsoka in that like between world, which made me think about that Marvel between world space that they show in movies. So he went from like being her master and her friend to also kind of turning to the dark side in that whole interaction. I guess it was just like a lesson for her. So I like that part, even though I did feel lost when they were talking about the wars. But their interaction and his transition was something that I liked watching. Well, that's about it for today. I'm really excited to watch the rest of the season now that the story has really moved forward in a big way. And I'm really excited to meet Thrawn. I can't wait to see him and see what he's all about. So I will be back soon to talk about episode 6, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Peace.